bless the USA.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that life to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is an honor. I just knocked over a fan on purpose here. It was blowing the hell out of my hair. I said, I got to do a good job in front of New Hampshire. I can't have fans. We don't need anything artificial up here, right? We don't need anything artificial. So I just want to say hello, New Hampshire, a special place, a great place with many great friends and great people. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, and I mean proud, I mean seriously proud. Look at this. American patriots who believe in that timeless motto, live free or die. Live free. I want to thank all of the people, so many people, you know, we're killing everybody in polls. You do know that, right? I mean, just not by like a little bit, like by 40 and 50 points, we're beating them a lot. But I want to thank my New Hampshire co-chairs, Lou Gargiolo and Wyndham Selectman Bruce Breton. Bruce is here. And a friend of mine, a great guy, U.S. Senator Bob Smith. Bob, thank you very much. And your beautiful wife. Wyndham Police Chief Mike Karen. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Representative Tim Cahill and some of our fantastic supporters, Chris Stevens, David Andrakis, and Dave Aber. Where's Dave Aber? Somebody that's been with me from the beginning. I don't mean like 6 months in. I mean like from the beginning. I guess we're talking like in the 2015s. We don't even go back. We go back to 15s now. But he came, he said, "You're going to win, sir. You're going to win so big." I said, "Really? You think so?" Really? He's a total pro, by the way. So I don't know if he really believed that when he said that, but he said, "You're going to win. You run. You're going to win, sir." And he started with me 6 months before the campaign. And that's all I heard. "Sir, it's unbelievable. You're doing phenomenally in the polls." I don't even know if they had any polls. But he got me all psyched up, I will tell you that. And he's also a fantastic person who loves, absolutely loves New Hampshire with his incredible family. And wife is here. The wife is, she's been with him and she loves him and he loves her. They have a fantastic family. Corey Lewandowski. Corey, where is Corey? Where is he? Well, there he is. Always likes to be a little bit in the background. Thank you, Corey. Great job. He's doing a great job. And somebody else who's really been fantastic right from the beginning, I saw her on television this weekend, and I didn't even recognize her. She looked so phenomenal. She was so dynamic. And then I got the television a little bit fixed up, also put on my glasses. And I saw how good she was. Caroline Levitt, she's been fantastic. Where's Caroline? Where's Caroline? Great job this weekend. Boy, you're much better having her on your side, believe me. I said, we better get her on my side. And she's been there for a long time now. Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. This afternoon, I'm also delighted to announce the launch of our new coalition, Veterans for Trump, led by True American Warrior. You know who that warrior is. He's a tough guy, and he's a great guy, and you just met him. Congressman Brian Mast. Brian, thank you very much. Thank you, man. Great guy. And today I'm especially grateful to receive the endorsement of over 100 veterans from the Granite State, including New Hampshire Veterans Coalition co-chairs, Hillsborough County Attorney John Coughlin. John, thank you very much, John, wherever you may be. Thank you, John. And State Representative Joe Petrie. Thank you very much, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Good, tough guys. I also want to thank my senior advisor. Somebody's been here almost as long as Corey. He's been with us, Steve Stepanak. Steve, thank you. Steve, thank you, Steve. And State Director Trevor Nudleri. Trevor, thank you, Trevor. Great job. Thank you very much. And really, we are doing fantastically up here. So that group, I felt we should introduce them. You know, it's nice. If we were doing lousy, I would not have introduced them, I promise. I wouldn't have even thought of it. But they're doing an unbelievable job. And the level is, we're so far above everybody else in the polls. They're all saying, is he going to go into the debate? And I say, I don't know. If you're leading by 50 and 60 and 70 points, do you do that or not? I don't know. Should I? Okay, you ready? Poll. We take a free poll. Should I do the debate? Well, maybe we'll do something else. You know, see, some people say yes, but they hate to say it because it doesn't make sense to do it if you're leading by so much, but they like it for entertainment value because they're selfish. They're selfish. To every veteran in this room, we salute you, and we really do. We worked hard with the veterans, and we've had a fantastic relationship, and this is a very big and important veteran state. I probably learned more about the veterans from dealing in New Hampshire than any other state. Please stand and receive our thanks. All veterans, do you mind? Please stand and receive our thanks. Thank you. That's a lot of veterans. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, that's a beautiful. A lot of times they'll say, whatever group it may be, please stand. And, you know, you have like two people stand up and say, well, that's not too much. Let's change our speech, right? But when I came into office in 2017, our government had a disgracefully horrible situation going on. They betrayed its solemn pledge to America's veterans. You know that better than anybody. I learned a lot about it from your leadership in this state. Under the Obama-Biden administration, the VA was plagued by one horrific scandal after another. Remember, you turn on the news and you just see these horrible scandals having to do with the veterans. You didn't hear any of it. For 4 years, you literally heard that very little, and we did things that were really amazing, and I'm proud of. Thousands of veterans were put on secret medical wait lists, and many of them left to die without receiving any care or any aid under Obama. Some very bad people were abusing veterans in VA hospitals, including sadists. Yet sadists. They were hitting the veterans when the veterans weren't in prime time, okay? They wouldn't have touched them in prime time, believe me, but they were hitting them when they were in trouble. And a lot of sadists, we got them all out. The VA employees were even caught stealing drugs intended for the treatment of our sick and wounded warriors, and they were stealing them and using them for themselves and selling them. But all of that changed when we arrived at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We went from the absolutely worst, Brian, you know that. We went from the absolutely worst to, that was the worst presidency for the veterans, the previous presidency. Wonderful people. You're not allowed to even say that. It's not politically correct. I'll say it. To the greatest champion the veterans ever had in the White House. And it was very much promises made, promises kept, and a couple of the really big ones, just as I promised, I proudly signed the VA Accountability Act, allowing us to quickly terminate VA bureaucrats and bad people who mistreated our vets. We told more than 10,000 bad, corrupt, incompetent VA workers, people that were sadists, and they couldn't get rid. You couldn't get rid of them. You had no right. They could steal. They could beat people up. You couldn't do a damn thing, and we got it so you could fire them. And I said, "You're fired. Get out. 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 Out of here." 10,000. Sounds like a lot, but it's a big system. And we got 10,000 really bad people out. Very, very evil people. They knew who they were. They couldn't do a thing about it. It was amazing. So we got that passed in Congress, if you can believe it. They were trying for 30 years to get it passed. I also signed Veterans' Choice and made that permanent. We got that passed in Congress also, which was really a big deal. That was a big deal. You have choice. You can go out. If you're not getting the treatment, you go out. But thanks to this landmark reform, 3 million veterans have been able to get care as needed and when they wanted it. You know, they'd wait in line sometime for weeks and months. And, you know, they have some great doctors in the VA. They have really good doctors, but you couldn't get to them. You couldn't get to them. People would wait for many months. They'd become terminally ill waiting. Something that could have been fixed easily, they'd become terminally ill. And I got it so that you go outside, you get a doctor, we pay the bill, and you get taken care of immediately if you had to wait more than a short period of time. So it was a great thing. It was a great thing. That was a great thing. That was very important. They've been trying to get that, by the way. That one, 52 years, Brian. They were trying to get it for 52 years. They couldn't get it done. It just made so much sense right from the first time I heard it. And I heard it first up here from your people. Under the Trump administration, we secured record funding for the VA. We slashed VA waiting times by more than 33%. And even now there's a new chart that came out from our last period that it was 57%. That's a lot. And almost all veterans reported major improvements at their local VA facility once I became president. In fact, we hit an all-time record high of VA satisfaction of 92%. Nobody has even come close. And I got angry at my people. They say he's not a nice guy. Some people didn't like me too much, as you probably heard, because we were tough. We were tough, but they said, why is it 92? Why isn't it 100? And they left the room. They said, this guy's very difficult, but we really mean it. But we hit the highest approval rating we've ever had. And I have to tell you, that approval rating now is not doing so well. You know that. You know that. A lot of bad things are happening over there. What they're doing to dismantle that system that was so good. But to help combat veteran suicide, we delivered same-day mental health care in every VA facility in America and made great strides until Biden came along. Till he came along. In a few short years, we turned the VA from a national embarrassment into a national example of devotion and service and loyalty to the American veteran. It was amazing, an amazing thing and an amazing success. So we got it done pretty quickly. Once we got the legislation passed, I would say it moved along very quickly. Sadly, crooked Joe Biden, and that's what he is, he's a stone-cold thief. Crooked Joe Biden has been a disaster for American veterans. As one of his first acts in office, Biden gutted my historic VA reforms. He gutted them out, making it easier to remove bad VA employees from the job. And in a shocking act of betrayal of America's veterans, as well as the tens of thousands of dedicated professionals, and you do have great professionals at the VA, crooked Joe Biden is in the process of not removing people, but reinstating 5,000 of the 10,000 people that we fired who were fired for good reason, including sadism and this, who were fired for very good reasons, and they want to give them back their full pay. They want to give them their jobs back. And we were very careful about that. We didn't get rid of people haphazardly. We got rid of people that were not doing their job. Some really in bad cases, and some they just weren't doing their job. They didn't care. They didn't show up to work. And he wants to put at least half of them back, the same people. And it'll cost over $200 million to do that. I'd rather give the money to you directly. It's a lot better. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. It breaks your heart. It breaks your heart. That was such a big thing, and now they want to put a lot of those people back. Joe Biden puts bureaucrats first. I put veterans first, and I put America first. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's why today I'm announcing a number of specific actions I'll take to fulfill our sacred duty to our great American veterans. On day one of my new administration, I will fully restore the use of VA accountability. We're going to bring it back in full force. Full force. And we already have the legislation passed, so I don't have to go through Congress, which really, that's why it took 52 years, because they couldn't get it passed. But we have it passed. All we have to do is make it work. So we have the hardest part is done, and direct my Secretary of Veterans Affairs to fire every corrupt VA bureaucrat who Joe Biden has outrageously refused to remove from the job or put back in the job. Then instead of providing more than $200 million in back pay to VA workers like Biden is doing, I will ask Congress to take every penny of those funds to finally build a brand new state-of-the-art VA hospital right here in the great state of New Hampshire. Because I don't know if you know this, but we can say that no longer will New Hampshire be the only state in America without a full-service VA facility. You'll have it, and you'll have it done quickly. We have a great group. Did you know you're the only one that doesn't have one? All right, that's what you get with those Democrats. That's what happens. At the same time, so you're going to have a brand new VA hospital, beautiful, state of the art, top of the line. Top of the line. The only state that doesn't have one. I was waiting for that. Thank you. Who said that, by the way? Stand up. Okay. You know, I was going to say that, but then I thought I'd be politically correct. Thank you. Take good care of her. That's right. Yeah, it's a selfish guy. At the same time, well, he ran for president and he got 2 points. He ran without running. You know, he didn't want to announce he wanted to run, but it's a shame. We could win the state so easy if we had help from the governor, but we never got help from the governor. We helped him, but he never helped us. So, but I'm glad you said it, because this way I could say I was so nice up in New Hampshire. No, he's not the same man now. He's not the same. He took a big beating. Knocking the hell out of everybody, and he took a big beating. And then he gets the first poll, and he sees in his own state he was in 7th place out of a group. At the same time, we will fully maintain the VA clinics in the rest of the state and address the severe shortage of nurses and other healthcare workers at the home for the retired veterans in Tilton. Anybody know that home? In Tilton. I will once again make stopping veteran suicide a top priority of my administration. Terrible situation. I will ban the Department of Veterans Affairs from wasting a single cent to fund transgender surgeries or sex change procedures. Spend a lot of money. Those are they are very, very expensive operations. And you also know you have to go through tremendous drug therapy after that. And I was always told in the military, if you take much more than an aspirin, you can't do it. But the tremendous drug therapy, it's a lot of problems. You know, we had it stopped, and then he came in. One of the first things he did is he started that up again. Those precious taxpayer dollars should be going to care for our veterans in need, not to refund radical gender experiments for the communist left. I'll also restore the Trump ban on transgender in the military. We're going to end that. You know, We had it banned. We had it banned. You know, I went to generals. I say, General, off the record, what do you think of transgender? Sir, is anybody listening, sir? What do you think? I don't like it, sir. And then I'd say to another one, you know, they're all afraid to talk about it, but, you know, I have to do what's right. You have to do what's right. And we have to help everybody. You have to help transgender. You have to help everybody. But this was just not something that was working out. And as soon as they came back, by a rigged election, by the way, as soon as they... As soon as they came back, they approved that. That was one of the first things on their list. They approved it. So now they're doing a lot of things that shouldn't be done. If you talk to the real generals, not the television generals, the real generals, we got some. Hey, look, I knocked out ISIS in a few weeks with real generals. We have a great military. We're not going to let our military go woke. That I can tell you. But the real generals in the military, down a little bit, those guys are incredible. The way they did that, the way they took out a lot of bad people, but they took out ISIS, the ISIS caliphate, 100%, and it was surgical. It was incredible. We will get critical race theory and all other woke lunacy out of the United States Armed Forces. And we will abolish every Biden COVID mandate and rehire every patriot who was fired from our military with an apology and with back pay. And in addition, I will make it a personal mission to totally eradicate veterans' homelessness. I mean, you have a situation in America. It's a scandal. It's a disgrace. What's happening now is nobody's ever seen. And it is a national tragedy that Joe Biden, Crooked Joe, he's more interested in where's the money coming from. To him, he's interested to him. How about all these things with the 30 corporations and the this and the that, the money flowing in, everybody getting money coming in from China. How can you be tough in China when they're paying you a lot of money? And see, they know too much. You know, we have a compromise. We have a Manchurian candidate. They know too much. So he can't be tough in China. That's why he allows blimps flying over the country, right over our nuclear sites. Let them come in. Let them take pictures. Oh, don't do anything about it. They'll tell everybody who's giving me all that money. He's a compromised candidate. And I'll tell you something. Out of respect for the office of president, I didn't talk this way 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. I felt very badly about what was going on. But out of respect for the office of the president, I wouldn't have said the way I talk. He's a crooked person. He's a totally dishonest guy. So we'd say things, but I even changed his name. I took it away from Hillary, and we call him Crooked Joe. Instead of Sleepy Joe, we call him Crooked Joe. I retired it. That was a great day for Hillary. Instead of Crooked Hillary, I said, we're removing the name from Crooked Hillary. Now we call her Beautiful, Beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. And we're giving it to Biden because he's a crooked person. But out of respect for the office, I would never have said that to this extent. And I never did. But now they indicted your president, your former president, who is very popular, 75 million people. They indicted him. So now they ripped off the top, they took the gloves off, and we can say whatever we want. And I'll tell you what he's done is a scandal the likes of which this country has never seen, and the fake news hates to talk about it. But it's a horrible thing that Crooked Joe Biden has spent nearly $1 billion to house illegal aliens and foreign migrants who are pouring into our country. It's an invasion of our country. We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border probably in the world. But to house illegal aliens and foreign migrants in expensive luxury hotels, the best hotels in the country in many cases, while more than 33,000 Americans who have served this nation in uniform are homeless on our streets, okay? On day one, I will sign an executive order to cut off Joe Biden's massive spigot of funding for the shelter and transport of illegal aliens, which our country can't handle. And I will redirect that money to provide shelter and treatment for homeless American veterans. They'll be treated properly. Thank you very much. Furthermore, I will finally hold accountable all of the failed leaders and television generals who gave us Joe Biden's catastrophe in Afghanistan 2 years ago this month. In my opinion, I watched a lot of the parents. I spoke to many of those parents. I called them when it happened. What a horrible thing, and what they've gone through. There was no way that was going to happen. We were going out, but we were going to get out with strength, with dignity. What they did when they took the soldiers out first. No, you take the soldiers out last. You take them out last. We went 18 months without one soldier being killed. I spoke to the head of the Taliban. I said, don't do it, Abdul. Don't do it, Abdul. Same man who's still running it. But when you think of that horrible event, leaving untold numbers of Americans behind, 13 dead warriors, 35 horrifically wounded, nobody talks about them, but horrifically wounded warriors, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment on the planet, bought by me. We rebuilt the military. I rebuilt the entire U.S. military. A lot of that equipment was brand new, bought by me. It was the single most embarrassing day in the history of our country, in my opinion. I think it was, and I think it probably was what led Putin to say, this is the time. That country has had it. Because I guarantee you one thing, Putin was not going in with me, and neither was Xi going in China into Taiwan. But Putin was not going into Ukraine. And we talked about it too, and I got along with them great. They hate to hear, you got along with them. Yeah, it's always nice to get along. And nobody was rougher. Look, I ended the pipeline. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2, right, Brian? Nobody heard of Nord Stream 2. I said Nord Stream 2, nobody knew. That's a pipeline going to Germany and taking care of all of Europe. I ended it. It was dead. And then Biden approved it his first week. So what's going on there? Under my leadership, we were leaving Afghanistan with dignity and strength, and we would not, under any circumstances, what that was surrender and humiliation. That's what it was. I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. And we had it so solid. They weren't shooting at us. They knew better because they knew they were going to get absolutely decimated if they did. When I returned to the White House, we will restore peace through strength. That's what we had. We had peace through strength. I'm the only president in many decades, like 8 decades, like many years, that didn't have any wars. We got out of wars and we won wars. We beat ISIS, we won wars. But we got out of wars and everybody respected us. 3 years ago, we were very respected. We were very respected. They didn't play games. Nobody played games, including trade, where we get screwed by everybody. We made great trade deals, even with China. They buy $50 billion a year because of what I did for our farmers and everybody else. And we were respected, and they didn't play games. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars through tariffs on China. No other president took in 10 cents. Hundreds of billions of dollars. They were not too fond of me, but I got along with President Xi also. We gave, I just looked at it. I just said, look it up. I was in the plane coming up. I say, look it up. What do we give Afghanistan? Does anybody have that note? I think I gave it to Corey. We give Afghanistan now billions of dollars. I said, I didn't know that. Billions of dollars in aid. A number that is so astronomical, and this goes on a yearly basis, and they need it for humanitarian and all of that. That's good. But let them give us back our equipment. They ought to give us back some of our equipment. We're giving them $2.7 billion and $3 billion and $2 billion. I thought it would say maybe nothing, or maybe $100 million, or maybe something little. But the numbers are astronomical, what we give to Afghanistan. So that should be a condition of the continued aid. I mean, I don't want to hurt people, but They took $85 billion worth. They didn't take, we left because we were fools. We were stupid. We were stupid. I remember a certain general saying, "Sir, it's cheaper to leave the equipment behind, sir," because we were going to get out. But I would have kept Bagram, because Bagram is one of the biggest air bases in the world. Bagram cost us billions of dollars to build many years ago. And Bagram is 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear, forget Afghanistan, where China makes their nuclear weapons. It's in Afghanistan. And they left Bagram late at night. They left the lights on. They left billions and billions of dollars, 1 hour away from and now China will soon be occupying that incredible base that we built many, many years ago. It's so sad. I mean, these people are just horrible. They're horrible. You know, I told somebody on the way up today, I told Brian, I told a few of the guys, so we did great in 2016. We actually did much better. As you know, we got millions more votes in 2020. The election was rigged. But there is more enthusiasm today than we ever had in 2016 or 2020. And the reason is because these people are so corrupt and they're so horrible. They're so incompetent. The reason is because they're watching. When you look at that border and you see millions of people pouring through our border, totally unchecked, nobody knows where they come from. They come from mental institutions and prisons, and they come from all over the place. 147 different countries last week, people coming in. But when you look at the border, just as an example, or when you look at high interest rates that they've set, high interest rates, when you look at the fact that oil was at an all-time high and they say, let's stop drilling. No, when oil is at an all-time high, you start drilling, you make a fortune. We would have supplied all of Europe, everything. We would have supplied oil and gas to Europe. We would have made a fortune. We would have started paying off that big debt that we have, $35 trillion. We would have been paying it off. We would have made a fortune. And this guy stopped it. And now we're getting our oil from Venezuela. How about that one? And it's not even, I should say we're getting our tar. Because they have very bad, they have very heavy, it's like tar, you have to refine it. And for the environmentalists in the group, you know where we refine it? In Houston. It has to be brought. There's only one plant that can refine it. It's like tar, and it's Houston. So all of that spews up into the air of Texas. We get it from there. We have the best stuff. I call it liquid gold under our feet. We don't use it. This is a crazy administration. This is like April Fool's Day. They want open borders. They want no voter ID. They want no paper ballots. They want high interest rates. They want your taxes are going to go up 4 times, they say, 4 times. They haven't been able to break, I got you the greatest tax cut in the history of this country. And they have tried, but they haven't been able to break it yet. But at some point, it expires in another fairly short period of time. So get ready for that one. These people want you to pay much higher taxes. It's crazy. And we could do it so much easier. Everyone can see the stunning contrast between our incredible success and Joe Biden's horrendous failures. And that's one reason why we're leading so big in the polls. That's really the reason, I think. It's more enthusiasm now than 2016 or 2020, because you've seen how incompetent these people are. It's horrible. In the recent Rasmussen poll, we're up 44 points with Trump at 57, Ron DeSanctimonious at 13, and the rest of them down in single digits, really low. And in the morning consult that just came out, I wanted to see, because, every time you get indicted, I like to check the polls, because one more indictment that I think this election's over. One more. No, it's horrible. You get indicted for nothing. Can you imagine a guy? Let's indict my opponent. This becomes a third world country. The latest morning consult poll has us far ahead. We're at 59%, and the others are at like 12. One is at 12. I think that's DeSanctimonious, but he's rapidly being caught by Ramaswamy. Who's good? No, Christie's, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered. Sir, please do not call him a fat pig. That's very disrespectful. Don't call him. See, I'm trying to be nice. Don't call him a fat pig. You can't do it. He can't do that. So now, because you're not allowed to do that, and therefore we're not going to do it, okay? We want to be very civil, right? So the latest coefficient poll, which is a big deal, have us almost at 60-13 with our lead over DeSantis growing by 9 points just since a few weeks ago. And even the recent New York Times poll has us up by 37 points, and that was older, now, and Ron DeSanctimonious. The reason I don't like him is that I got him elected. When you get somebody, I don't want to go through the whole story because most of you know, but he came to me, he needed help, he was getting demolished in the primary. Stupidly, I said, all right, I'll do it. Because I didn't know the guy who was running against. His name was Adam Putnam. I said, I'll do it because, he was one of the 200 people that were on television. He was no better than anybody else. He was no Jim Jordan, that I can tell you. And he was on television and fighting a little bit on impeachment hoax number 1 and impeachment hoax number 2. So I said, you know what? If I actually told him, if I were Abraham Lincoln, if we brought him back from the dead, and if we brought George Washington back from the dead, and they gave you the greatest endorsement, and they hugged you and kissed you just like you did to Obama, just like, he did and Christie did. Who hugged and kissed Obama harder, DeSantis or Chris Christie? I think Chris Christie. Remember that? He grabbed him. Obama said, get this guy off of me. And that was the end of Romney when that happened. That could have been a good thing, but we are in New Hampshire, aren't we? That's all right. No, but he asked me. So I said, you know what, Ron, let's do it. Go ahead, let's do it. So I gave him a very strong endorsement. And the next day he went like a rocket right through the thing. And he blew people that worked for Adam Putnam couldn't believe it. They never called me, but I didn't know Adam Putnam. He was the Secretary of Agriculture. He should have called me. I would have endorsed him. Sometimes it's the first one to call. Sometimes you don't do it at all. But he did. And then I had to get him through Gillum. Remember Gillum? He turned out to be a pothead, crackhead. But everybody thought he was the hottest one in politics. And Ron said, I won't be able to beat him. I said, well, he's the hottest man in politics. I said, you can beat him. Then he comes, he calls me, could you do a rally? Then he actually said, could you do 3? I think I did 3 rallies. We had massive crowds. Those rallies. We're doing a lot of them. Again, they're hotter now than anything because of what's happening, because of how bad it is. But I did and he ends up winning the election. Then 4 years later, would you run against the president? These maniacs are screaming, would you run against the president? Would you run? Will you run? And he goes, I have no comment. I said, what? Did he say that? I heard this. I'm watching a newscast. I'm watching a fake newscast. And they say, would you run against the president? He shouts out, I have no comment. Now, to me, that means he's running. So I said, that son of a bitch is running. Can you believe it? I just got him elected. So that's why I've been particularly hard on him. And fortunately, it's worked because he's crashing. He's like, he doesn't know what happened. He goes home, he says, what happened? What did I do wrong? You know what he did wrong? He ran. What he did wrong is he should have waited till 28. But I don't know if that would have held water because eventually they would have figured out, you do need some personality if you're going to be a politician. Just a little. Some of them don't have too much. Like your governor, Like your governor. In the new Emerson poll of battleground states in Arizona, we're leading Biden by a lot. And very importantly, at that same poll and in other polls, we're leading Biden by 7, 8, 9, 11 points. But you know what? When I hear we're leading by 2 or 3 or 4 points, you got to understand, that's actually a lot for a Republican because they have a built-in vote that no matter who you are, even if you can't put 2 sentences together, you get like 40. We don't have that. We have to win the entire East Coast like we did in 2016 and like we did in 2020 too, by the way. But they're watching closely. They're watching. In that same poll, we're leading in the primary by 47. Think of that. 40, that's a lot. But we will not play prevent defense. You ever see in the NFL? They don't allow a point on the other team, not a point. Their defense is brutal. They can't get, now they just have to hold the other team one more series. They have to hold, just please hold them. Let's go prevent defense. Ping, ping, the end of the game. Touchdown, touchdown. We will not play. Is that okay? We will not play prevent, right? But everyone else is in single digits. Here's one you'll like. In the New Hampshire brand new coefficient poll, respected highly, the New Hampshire Journal has us leading by 43 points. We're leading by. And DeSantis, Ron DeSanctimonious, he's at 9 points. He's at 9. He's time to go back to Florida, Ron, and work on your insurance that's costing everybody a fortune. And now we're dominating Biden in the general election. Harvard-Harris has us up by 5 points, and we're up 18 points among independents. Remember, they like to go around, well, will Trump get the independents? Will Trump get the women? You know what the women want? The women want safety. They want to have a border. They want to have low taxes, low interest rates. They don't want in their beautiful suburbs, they talk about, the suburban women. I think the suburban women like me. You know what I did? We have a lot of suburban. No. They don't want to have a low-income housing job built right next to their house. That's what the Democrats want. So I give them strong borders. I give them good safety. I give them a powerful military. Education, so important. By the way, speaking of education, because this is largely about veterans, we are going to bring education back to the states so that each state will run 100%. We'll keep approximately 3 people in Washington just to make sure that you're teaching English, okay, as opposed to another language. Okay, you need a little coordination, like everybody has to teach English if you don't mind. But we'll keep a little bit of like 2 or 3 people. But we have building after building after building, and here's the problem. No matter what poll you look at of education in the world, we're at the bottom of the polls. And we spend more money than anybody else. We spend double and triple what number 2 is, like Norway, Denmark, believe it or not, China, very high ranking, Japan. But Norway and Denmark, they said, we're following New York City. They said, we are going to follow the Norwegian system. I said, that didn't work out. You know how long that lasted? About 15 minutes, That didn't work out too well for New York. I'll tell you, New York is sad. Did you see what's happening in New York with okay? How about, when I left New York was a proud city. And now it's so sad to see what's happened to that city. And in the big new premise poll, we're beating Biden by a lot, while DeSantis is losing to Biden by a lot. So that's enough of that stuff. But, the polls are phenomenal. People want us back. They remember what we had. We built the economy twice. We built the greatest economy in the world. And then we did it a second time after COVID. But these incredible numbers are the primary reason that crooked Joe Biden has weaponized law enforcement. He has weaponized. He's done something that nobody thought. They talked about it, but nobody ever did it, and never to this extent, and ordered his top political opponent, me, arrested. They actually arrested right in the middle of a presidential election that Biden is losing badly. He says, I'm down in the polls to Trump. Let's arrest him. Let's indict him and arrest him. Please indict him and arrest him. He's killing me in the polls. What they didn't know is that I was going to go up. Because the good thing is we have a voice. Somebody gets indicted, you go down usually, right? I would say, Corey, almost always. You go down, but they know me, and these charges are so Presidential Records Act. It's just exactly for that case. They don't want me to speak about a rigged election. They don't want me to speak about it. Whereas I have freedom of speech, First Amendment. How can my corrupt political opponent, crooked Joe Biden, put me on trial during an election campaign that I'm winning by a lot, but forcing me nevertheless to spend time and money away from the campaign trail in order to fight bogus, made-up accusations and charges? That's what they're doing. I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on bullshit because his attorney general charged me with something. Terrible. Thank you very much. No, it is. Think of it. They say charge him. Now, they miscalculated a little bit. The other good line? No, actually, we want to run against Trump. No. If they didn't want to run, you have to, they'd say, we would much prefer running against Trump. That's because they had such an easy time when Hillary ran against me. And last time we did much better than that. Somebody said we sold hundreds of millions of hats. Somebody said the other day, many polls, in counties we had like almost 3,000. They have 200, so many different metrics. But hats, the red hats, the white hats, all the hats, we sold, even the farmer hats, which are green, right? Make farmers great again. Did I make farmers great again? I got them 28 billion from China. That's why I said, no way I lose Iowa. Why is that? Why are you so confident? Because I got the farmers $28 billion. Nobody else did. But think of this. Somebody said it the other day. I never thought of it. There were red hats all over South Carolina. We had almost 80,000 people. You saw it. We were in this gorgeous area, this gorgeous town. I don't want to say the name of the town because if I do, they'll try and change the name back to, something else. But it was a beautiful, beautiful place. And the sheriff was great. Everybody was great. We had 80,000 people. And it was a sea of red hats mostly, but white also, green and everything. But I'll tell you, you were there, right? 80,000 people. And you took a look at that. And I said, has anybody ever seen a Biden hat? So think of it. We have hundreds of millions over the 6, 7 years, 8 years. We have hundreds of millions of hats sold. And I'm asking, has anybody ever seen a hat saying Biden? I don't think so. Well, we did have hats, because we made them, that said, where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? Holy where he turned out to be. He was in some dark places. But is this going to be where they go and indict your opponent? Is this going to be the next president's going to say, hey, listen, my opponent is doing really well all over the place. Look at the crowds we have. I mean, outside you got a lot of people. And by the way, I want to say officially for the press, it's about 110 degrees in this room. Nice job with the air conditioning, whoever. But you know what the press will say? You know what they'll say? Trump didn't look well. He was extremely wet. It's 104 or 5 degrees in this room. But we're okay with it, right? But is this going to be the future of elections in America, where a sitting president tells his attorney general to indict the opponent, to try and knock the opponent down? This is what's happening. And then you ask the simple question. So this has been going on for a long time, the same stuff. Why didn't they do it 2.5 years ago? You know why? Because then it wouldn't have mattered so much. They want to take away your freedom of speech. Everything else would have mattered a lot less. And it would have been terrible because it's all bogus. But why, if they were going to do it, why didn't they do it 2.5 years ago before the election, right? They waited till the election. They waited. And I probably have another one. They say there's a young woman, a young racist in Atlanta. She's a racist. And they say, I guess they say that she was after a certain gang and she ended up having an affair with the head of the gang or a gang member. And this is a person that wants to indict me. She's got a lot of problems, but she wants to indict me to try and run for some other office. What's going on in this country is, and by the way, wants to indict me for a perfect phone call. This was even better than my perfect call with Ukraine. Remember that call? That was a perfect call. This one's better. This one is more perfect. I challenged the election in Georgia, which I have every right to do, which I was right about, frankly. And they want to indict me because I challenged the election. So does that mean that Hillary Clinton, who challenged the election, does that mean that Stacey Abrams and all of the other, virtually every Democrat challenges the election? Does that mean, or they do the slate of electors? This has been going on since Thomas Jefferson. He wanted to say, but they don't call. They used my word. They took it and they said fake. Because I came up with the name fake news a long time ago. Worked out good. But it's no longer good enough because it's not tough enough, because it's really corrupt news. It's beyond fake. They don't even write. They don't even write. All the money that Biden is stealing, you don't see one story. Years ago, they'd win Pulitzer Prizes. Today, even Pulitzer Prizes of very little value because, we're suing the Pulitzer Foundation because they gave Pulitzer Prizes to people that wrote about the Russia hoax for their wonderful writing, their brilliance. They were wrong. They were totally wrong. And everybody admits they were wrong. So why doesn't Pulitzer just give back the awards? Because they're radical left lunatics. But we're suing. We'll see what happens. We're doing quite well. Never happened in the USA. This has never happened where an attorney general is told to take the Justice Department and the FBI and sue somebody, think of it, who's running for president and leading not only the Republicans by 50 points, but leading the Democrat by a lot. So he says, sue him, and that will bring him down. But they sued, and I have a guy, they call him Deranged Jack Smith. He's deranged. And Biden, on the boxes stuff, Biden has almost 2,000 boxes. Some were held in Chinatown, not a good place for him. And you don't ever hear anything about him. And I came under a thing called the Presidential Records Act. Won't go into it, but it's beautiful. But we have this deranged lunatic looking at us, and he's got a very nice man, a very gentle man. Our guy leaks. He does things that are just terrible. And because of that, we're leading by a lot. Because, frankly, I think it's had a huge impact because it shows how sick and how evil these people are, in addition to not knowing anything about the border, about the economy, about the military, or about dealing with other nations. So this is all about election interference. But that isn't quite good enough. Crooked Joe now wants the thug prosecutor, this deranged guy, to file a court order taking away my First Amendment rights so that I can't speak. So listen to this. We don't want you to speak about the case. The case is a ridiculous case. It's a First Amendment case. But we don't want Trump to speak. So they take away your rights on First Amendment. Now they sue because so now I have one of these lunatic reporters back there saying, sure, would like to talk to you about your case. Or, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about it. Somehow that's not good for votes. Do you agree? When we say I can't talk, I will talk about it. I will. They're not taking away my First Amendment right. So, based on yet another radical left hoax, I've gone through many hoaxes, as the people in this room know very well. But it's another one, radical left hoax like Russia. The no collusion Mueller report. How about that? After 3 years, we find no collusion. I was supposed to be working for Russia. They went through millions of phone calls, not one call made to Russia. They have no collusion after almost 3 years. Then they created a fake dossier. It was made by, how bad are people when they make up a story about Russia? They put it in the fake dossier like it was legit. And even the guy that wrote it, who we're also suing, by the way, but the guy that wrote it, Christopher Steele, they offered him $1 million, the FBI, if he would affirm. They would beg you, please, take $1 million. The way they give money, man, the FBI, they give away a lot of money, don't they, huh? So they offered him $1 million to affirm it. He couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. It turned out to be a total fake. But here's Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and he comes out, he says to the reporters gathered, click, 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 they're all going crazy. Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States, will go to jail over Russia. Now think of it. He made it up with Hillary and all these people. They made it up, and they're saying that my son will go to jail. Now, how bad do you have to be to do that? So they know it's a phony story. They say he's going to go to jail. These are not Mrs. Lewandowski. You hear that? Can you imagine if that were these kids? Can you imagine look what your husband got me into? I could have been relaxing at Mar-a-Lago or in the south of France, which I would prefer being in this country, frankly. But they got involved with FISA, the fraudulent FISA applications. Remember, they sent in applications to the courts and they were all fraud. The judges never did anything about it. They knew they were frauds. It was written about. They never did anything about it. The 51 intelligence agents that said Hunter's laptop from hell was all Russia disinformation. Do not use it. They say that made from a 10 to a 17-point difference in the polls. The FBI, Twitter files, the DOJ, Facebook, and all of the rest, look at 2,000 Mules. Look at what they did with that. Thousands and thousands and thousands of votes on tape, on camera. All of this will come up during this trial. All of this will come up. Because we won the election by a lot. Then they have this crap going on. I never even thought of this one. Trump didn't really believe he won the election. Let me tell you, people that know me say, that's one thing. I tell you, there was never a second of any day that I didn't believe that election was rigged. It was a rigged election. It was a rigged election, and it was a stolen, disgusting election. And this country should be ashamed. And they go after the people that want to prove that it was rigged and stolen so it never happens. They go after them. They don't go after the people that rigged it, okay? And we'll see how it all turns out. You know, we've been right about a lot of things, right? You ever see Trump was right about everything? Ultimately, let's see how that all works out. So in other words, I'll be the only politician in American history not allowed to speak because of our corrupt system. Sir, you're not allowed to speak on the show. In other words, I'll come here and I'll say, hi, everybody. Listen, not allowed to speak. Please vote for me, New Hampshire, if you would. Bye. And all I can say is the never-ending witch hunt continues, and we have exposed so much. Nobody's ever thought I have exposed so much. It's been incredible. But do not fear. We will win bigger and better than ever before. They rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. We're not going to allow it to happen. We're not going to allow it to happen, New Hampshire. And you're such an important state. You know, you're relatively small. You're so important politically. And you know, I kept Iowa and you in those first positions. Please remember that. Because I thought there was a great, beautiful tradition to it. They want to move you way back in the line. And I said, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You are in the position. You'll always be there as long as I have anything to say about it. Joe Biden is the most incompetent and corrupt president in U.S. history. The Biden crime family was taking in money from China, Ukraine, Russia, all these places he has to deal with, and so many others. And now whenever more Biden corruption is exposed, his henchmen charge me with a crime. You know, when they get something on Biden, oh, let's add on another indictment to that stupid indictment that we filed. Let's add on another one, because that takes the news cycle. Unfortunately, I get disproportionate publicity. So they indict me. He's right, great balls. But so they indict me. So when they want to keep something, they say, oh man, they got Hunter again. You know, at some point, Joe is going to have to say, you know, the sun thing just isn't working out. Do you agree? The sun thing. The sun thing's not working out too good. All he had to do is pick up the laptop. Didn't the guy call him like 11? Pick up your laptop. Pick up your laptop. I wonder where that cocaine came from. What happened? That was the quickest investigation I've ever seen. You know, somebody told me, could be wrong. I always say that way you could never get sued, you know. Somebody told me, could be wrong. I'm sure it's wrong. But in that little cubicle where it was, there would be normally thousands of fingerprints. You know, people meet her. There were none. It was clean. It was so clean. It's the kind of place I'd like to be, actually, clean. I like cleanliness. But it's called a cover-up. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, fascists indict me, I consider it a great, great, great badge of honor. I do. Because I'm being indicted for you. I am being indicted for you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. But never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who are going to stop them. It takes brave people to stop these radical lunatics. It takes brave people. They're sick. They're sick people. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. That's what's happening here. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in their way, and I always will stand in their way, I promise. And if you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation once again, because we do not have a free nation. And from my first day in office, I will appoint a special prosecutor to study each and every one of the many claims being brought forth by Congress, and they're doing a good job. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, all of them. Concerning all of the crooked acts, including bribes from China and many other countries, all these foreign countries sending money into the coffers of the Biden crime family, we will have a special prosecutor, and now they'll come after me even a little harder, but I don't know how many more. How much harder can they do it? I should have 4 by sometime next week. I never heard, I went to the Wharton School of Finance. We never studied indictment. We never studied arrest. We never studied prison. These are sick people we're dealing with. It's often said that Republicans don't fight hard enough, and I happen to agree, but they never said that about Trump. And you have some Republicans that are fighting very hard now, I have to tell you. But you're going to see that on my first day in the presidency. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables will turn very quickly, and we will destroy the deep state. And we got rid of a lot. It didn't look like it, but we got rid of a lot. But we're also fighting like hell and also doing a great job in holding back China, holding back North Korea, Kim Jong-un. All of a sudden that problem stopped. Russia would have never gone in. China would not be talking about Taiwan right now. We did a great job. I mean, when you think about it, we did a job that very few people have done, on top of the greatest economy ever, strongest border ever, all of these things, and we had this stuff hanging over our head all the time. That's all they do. They're the party of misinformation and disinformation. In just 4 short years, we already achieved more than any administration, probably in the history of our country. We delivered the largest tax cuts and regulatory cuts by far in history, and likewise, we built the greatest economy in history. We achieved energy independence and would have shortly gained energy. We were going to be dominant. Energy dominance for the first time ever. We had gas prices at $1.87 a gallon. After years of bitter betrayals, you really have high prices here. Your electric costs are about the highest in the country. Good luck with your electric cars, everybody. How dumb is that? And they're sitting all over the place. Nobody wants them. How crazy. Let somebody, if you want an electric car, you buy an electric car. But you got to have choice, just like you're going to have school choice. After years of bitter betrayals of New Hampshire workers, I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, replaced it with the USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. In fact, it's such a good deal that Mexico and Canada are now trying to renegotiate it with the Biden administration. And I say, don't let them do it. We suffered with that crazy NAFTA for years. Everyone said I'd never be able to terminate it because I had to terminate it through Congress. We got it terminated through Congress, NAFTA. We got the USMCA. It's the best trade deal ever made. It's unbelievable. Much better for us than it is for Mexico and Canada, as you can tell. I stood up to China like no administration has ever done before, bringing in billions and billions and billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten literally 10 cents, not 1 penny they got from China. China had us figured out really well. I gave our farmers in Great New England lobstermen $28 billion from the massive tariffs I received from China. And DeSantis opposed the deal, by the way. He opposed it, just to put it out there quickly. He also opposed Social Security. I don't know if you know, he wanted to decimate Social Security, Medicare, and Social Security. He wanted to bring the minimum age up to 70. So I don't know if you know that, but... And remember one thing about a politician. When that's his original thought, that's where they go back to. They may come up here and talk to you, oh, I love Social Security. No, he voted 3 times to terminate and decimate it. We appointed over 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. And how about the ruling last week where they say that if you get great marks, you go to college first. There's no more crazy discrimination and other things. Nobody thought that was going to happen. And last year, those justices ruled to end Roe v. Wade. They ruled to end Roe v. Wade. Now, I have to tell you, we have to talk about it because it, energizes the other side a little bit, and it's not good. But just so you understand, it had to talk about it. Now, pro-lifers have a tremendous power to negotiate. You had no power whatsoever. They could kill the baby at any time they wanted. They could kill the baby whenever they wanted. This moves the issue back also to the states, where all legal scholars want it back in the states. But you have tremendous power to negotiate. Like Ronald Reagan, before me, I support the 3 exceptions. You have to go with your heart. But I support for rape, incest, and for the life of the mother. I do that, and a lot of people do. Big portion do. And remember this, the Democrats, though, we're not the radicals. They're the radicals because they're willing to kill babies in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and even after birth. So if you remember that, and the exceptions, in my opinion, are important, but you have to go with your heart. But we did something that was amazing. For 50 years, they've tried to get it out. They wanted it back in the states. All legal scholars, or both sides, wanted it back in the states. But you now have a tremendous power to negotiate something that's going to be good and going to be lasting. And it was a tremendous achievement. But just remember, they were the radicals. They try and make you into radicals and monsters. They were the radicals because they were killing babies in 5th, 6th, 7th, and nobody on either side wants that to happen. They did a poll of Democrats the 9th month. They had like nobody. So you have to remember, so you're in a very good position. You have the power now of negotiation. We gave you something that was really a fantastic thing that most people thought couldn't be done, and now you have to use it wisely. They're the extremists, not us, and we created the most secure border in U.S. history. We built nearly 500 miles of border wall. We got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Remember when they said, oh, Mexico didn't pay. Mexico gave us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. That's a lot more than a little bit for the wall and a lot less complicated. I said to the president, a lot of people are coming in from Mexico. The cartels are bringing in really bad people. You have to give us soldiers. No, I will not do that. I said, no, you have to. How many do you need? 28,000. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of soldiers. Pancho Villa, with the bullets going on. Pancho Villa, these soldiers aren't politically correct either. Ours have to be politically correct. If our soldier speaks up to a person a little bit rough, they put him in the brig for the rest of his life, okay? It's not good what they do to our soldiers, I tell you. They don't get it. But we had 28,000 soldiers. So people say, well, what about Mexico? Did Mexico? But I said, much better. But they said, we're not going to do it. I said, that's okay. Don't do it, but you're going to suffer big consequences because what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign legislation, which is on my desk, that for every car, they took 32% of our business out of the United States over a period of 22 years. 30, not during my administration, nothing. Because I told people, you go there, you're going to put a big tariff if you sell it back in. That's what you had to do, and you would have kept everybody. But they took 32. I said, here's what you do. If you don't give us 28,000 soldiers, I am going to put a 25% tariff on everything that Mexico sells into the United States, meaning you're not going to sell anything because nobody's going to want it. No, you should not do that. I said, that's what I'm going to do. And they said, in thinking about it, we would be honored to give you 28,000 soldiers. So we had 28,000 soldiers. Remain in Mexico. That was another one I got. Remain in Mexico. When these people come in, they come into our country and they stay and they never leave. That's it. And they're criminals and they come in from many times, many jails. They've been emptied out. And what I did is I got it. Remain in Mexico. Now the people have to remain. But the problem is that Biden is giving it all up. He's given everything up. Our medical stay, he gave up. Even the judge said, you don't want to give that up. Our country's going to be overrun. So they gave it up. But all of that was just the beginning. Here's some of the agenda that I will immediately implement when we, that's you and me, we're all going to become the president of the United States, 47th president of the United States. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, we will have that horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It'll be settled. I know them both very well. Get it done very quickly, maybe in 24 hours. And I'm the only candidate who can make you this promise. I will prevent World War III. I'll prevent it. Not going to happen. We have a man right now who can't put two sentences together, and he's negotiating on our behalf with nuclear weapons. He's lost every country. Now we're enemies with Russia, with China, with North Korea, with Iran. I terminated the Iran deal. I got Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, and built our beautiful building out of Jerusalem stone, right? A beautiful, all Jerusalem. You can't put two words together. He said, well, that's true too. No, but we have a man who can't put two sentences together, and he's negotiating with people that, like President Xi of China, he's negotiating with people that are at the top of their game. There's nobody in Hollywood that can play the role of some of these people. These are smart, tough killers. Macron of France, and you heard the story maybe quickly because I'm sweating like a dog up here. But does anybody want me to stop, or should we go forward? Macron of France, he put a big tax. He wanted to put a big tax on our companies doing business in France. I said, you can't do that. I gave it to my people to do. They weren't able to do anything about it. 2 weeks, they come back. Sir, he's very strong on that. He wants to do it. I think it was like a 25% tax, some ridiculous tax for American companies. I called him. I said, Emmanuel, I like you very much, you're my friend, but you can't put the tax on. If you do, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put a 100% tariff on all of your wines and champagnes that I don't even like. I'm going to put a 100% tariff on wines and champagnes coming out of France and coming into... No, Donald, you cannot do that. I said, oh, I can do that. You have 10 minutes to tell me. He said, I give up, and he took off the tax. That's what happened. I gave it to my geniuses. They couldn't... Sure, there's no way we can stop it. It was passed by his legislature. To stop Biden's inflation catastrophe, bring down the cost of energy and become energy independent and even energy dominant. We are just, 3 years ago, we were energy dominant. We were energy independent, but we will drill, baby drill. We are going to be drilling and bringing it way down. To bring 10,000, it's going to bring tens of thousands more manufacturing jobs back to New Hampshire. We already did it. We made this place very successful. You know, anything that's good that's happening with the economy, it's only because they're running on the fumes of what we built. You understand that? They're running on the fumes, but those fumes can't last much longer. And they're just pouring money out. You know, all these crazy deals. This Inflation Reduction Act, $1.7 trillion, and it increases inflation. But they're running on the fumes of what we did, and we did an incredible job. I will impose a border tariff on all foreign-made goods coming into this country. And I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act very quickly. That is, if India, China, France, anybody, Germany, they charge us, we don't charge them because we had stupid people. And I started changing that a lot, but then we had COVID, we had to fix that mess. But all a gift from China. But reciprocal trade, if they're charging us 100% for a motorcycle, when we do a motorcycle, we charge them 100%. Right now, they charge 157% for a motorcycle. Harley would have to send. So what does Harley do? They have to go and build a plant in India, or they have to go and build. No more. We were all set to do this, too. It was all set. We had a couple of stupid senators that didn't like it. One of them, coming from Pennsylvania, said to me, Sir, this is not free trade. I said, wait a minute. This country, I won't tell you which, is charging us 200%. We charge them nothing. Would it be okay if I charged them half, 100%? No, sir, that's not free trade. How about 50%? How about 25%? How about 10%? He said, no, sir, it's not free trade. I said, you're either corrupt or you're stupid as hell because it's crazy. So we're going to pass it. So if they charge us, very simple, we charge them, and it's probably all going to disappear. The Biden economic bust will be replaced with the historic Trump economic boom. I will immediately terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. Our country is being invaded. Following the Eisenhower model, we will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. And I will use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. To stop the Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting Republicans, conservatives, people of faith, and me, by the way, I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist in reverse enforcement of the law. And we will bring back a thing called stop and frisk in our cities. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender, insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children, our beautiful children. Our beautiful children are being destroyed by these maniacs. I will keep men out of women's sports. It's very easy to do. And I will sign a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Can you imagine? Can you imagine even having to say that? Think of it. 15 years ago, could you imagine? I will stop child sexual mutilation. Can you imagine having to, that's actually a part of my campaign. Can you imagine having to say that we're going to stop the mutilation of children? Just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. It's going to be in good shape. And I will fully secure our elections. They'll be done the right way. Our goal will be one day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. That's what our goal is. But until then, Republicans must compete and we must win. 2024 is the most important election we've ever had. But this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition like we've never seen before. Our currency is crashing and will no longer, in my opinion, be the world standard if it keeps going like this, which will be the single greatest defeat of our country in 200 years. We lose the power of the dollar. It won't happen with me, not even a little chance. Just like Russia would have never invaded Ukraine and China would have never even thought about raiding Taiwan. They wouldn't have done it. I told them, you're not going to do it. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. We are a failing nation. I don't like saying that, but we are. We are a failing nation. We're a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement, the DOJ, and the FBI. It's totally corrupt, and we're not going to let it happen. 2024. They have no idea how important it is. It's our final battle. It's our final real big battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will drain the swamp once and for all. The great silent majority is rising like never before. I mean, never before. It's never been. I don't believe it's ever been like this. I said it twice tonight. I'll say it again. We have never had anything like it. The spirit, the love, the passion. There's never been anything like this. And we went through 2016 and we went through 2020, and most people would say they were the most passionate. This is blowing it away. But we've never had anything like this, never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten men and women will be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first. We will make America. We're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to make it great. It's hard to believe right now. Our country is at such a low point. We will make America greater than ever before. Thank you, New Hampshire. God bless you. God bless you, New Hampshire. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, RSBN. You guys do a great job.